Yeah, so I know I've left this video literally to the last minute and the Premier League kicks off in 2 hours, but it had to be done anyway. Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and welcome to a very well requested video. A video that is taking me quite a while to do, okay? It's my Premier League predictions video. You already know it from the title, of course, but I'm going to explain why I thought it'd be a good idea to leave it this long. I want to get as many signings in as possible. I want to make it as close to the squad that is going to play this season as I could before I made any judgments. And I think they're still going to be wrong, because there's still so long to go in the transfer window. Teams could be completely different by the time we reach September, but I thought I'd just leave it till now because I would have missed out on people like Lukaku, Grealish, some big signings that could really change how the Premier League goes. So yeah, so I'm going to be telling you where I think all 20 Premier League teams are going to finish. I might as well go into cups as well. We'll talk about Golden Boot, Golden Glove, stuff like that as well. All the things that you'll see in the season, all the awards that people will be getting, stuff like that. So if I disagree with you, if you have a different opinion to me, it's fine. Don't give me any hate, please. I know everyone's going to have different opinions, and I'm probably going to end up being very wrong by the end of the season. I was last time. I didn't do a video, but I did discuss it on stream last time, and I ended up being very wrong. So hopefully this time it goes a bit better for me. I'll be explaining why I think everyone's in the position they're in. If you're a fan of that side, obviously you might put them higher. Just for context, I'm a West Ham fan, so that's kind of where my loyalties lie and where I could be a bit biased, but I've tried to be as unbiased as possible there. I actually think being a West Ham fan could put us lower than a lot of people think, but yeah, we'll see where my predictions end up. We'll see if they end up being close by the end of the season. I will review them then, so make sure you come and have a check back at the end of the season. Might do a mid-season kind of review as well to see where we're going. But yeah, let's get into the predictions. So, of course, we need to start off at the bottom of the table and work our way up. So we'll go relegation first, then through the middle into the European places. So we're going to start off with, I have to put some on bottom, unfortunately, and there's two teams that I think are basically definitely going to go down. I didn't really have to think about them. And the bottom of those teams, I think the worst team in the league this season, unfortunately, is going to be Norwich City. They've just come back up, of course, and it's always hard for promoted teams. A lot of the players wouldn't have had the experience in the Premier League. With Norwich, most of them have, because, of course, they've only been away one season. But at the same time, that team that has come up is not too different from the team that went down the first time. And they did go down quite early on. They were obviously not strong enough for the Prem, and you've got to worry that could happen again, really. Of course, Pukki is a decent player. Scored goals but was inconsistent. He kind of went missing in the second half of the season last time they were in the Prem, but he's enjoyed the Championship again. Cantwell, brilliant player. Are they going to hold on to him though? A few clubs are sniffing round at the moment. Apart from that, maybe Max Aarons is someone you could look at. Rashika does look like a strong signing. I think he'll score a few goals and then maybe secure a move to another side in the Premier League if they go down. Lees Malou, I'm not too convinced by. He's got to prove himself. And I have just signed another guy. I can't remember his name, but apparently he's quite a good striker. So they've got a lot of competition up front, but when you look at the back, there's not really much going on there. There's Max Aarons, but apart from that, they've got quite a slow back line. Really ageing, not too much technical ability in there. They're more kind of old school defenders. Not really convincing me with their back line, especially. I think if they do score goals, which I don't think they'll score many of still, I can't see where they're going to come from, unfortunately, especially without Buendia in the side anymore. I do think they'll leak quite a few goals. So unfortunately, I'm going to have Norwich City as the bottom team in the Premier League this season, going down quite early on as well. And the side that I think will join them, definitely. I think this is a side that won't really stay up. I'm really sorry, Ben Foster, but it's going to be Watford. I don't think that they've got enough. Again, they've got similar problems to Norwich. They don't have much depth, and it's quite similar to the side that went down last time. They've got their good players, of course. They've got Ismail Assar. Will Hughes had quite a stand-up season in the Championship. They've got their talisman, Troy Deeney. Always going to score a few goals. I think he is getting on a bit now, and he will be finding it a bit more difficult and maybe won't play every game. They don't seem to have made too many signings of note. I haven't really heard too much about Watford signings. Of course, let me know if you think they've made any good ones down in the comments, but I don't really see them strengthening at all from a side that only really went up from the Championship on the last day or last 2 days or whatever it was. I don't think they're strong enough for the Premier League. I think they'll struggle. They always love to change manager as well, and I think if they do that again, it could be curtains for them. That could be it for them. But what I think Watford needs is, even if they don't stay up, just keep a consistent manager. Try and actually get a philosophy at the club. Try and build around certain players. If you change managers, they want different things. They want different players to build around, stuff like that. So maybe build a team around your good players, your Ismail Assar, your Will Hughes. See where you can go from there. Of course, they've got players that have been there a long time. Players like Tom Cleverley that are just solid lower Premier League level. They're the kind of players that maybe you want to keep and just maybe try and build around them with some good young players. I like Jeremy Ngakia, who used to be at West Ham, really class signing. Unfortunately, he didn't stay with us because his contract ran out, but he looks good, and I think they've got the players to score the goals. Unlike Norwich, I think they will score, but I think they will leak as well, similar to Norwich. They'll have quite a poor goal record. But the thing is, a lot of people have put Backman in their fantasy teams as their reserve or even main goalkeeper, so a lot of people do seem to have confidence in Watford keeping clean sheets, but I don't think they'll be able to. Now, this last relegation space was, I think, the hardest of the entire predictions for me to do. I think Champions League, Europa, Champions were easier to decide than who would go down in 18th place. I think anyone up to about where I've put 13th could occupy this position. It just depends on signings, runs of form, stuff like that. Maybe a little bit of luck as well. I think these sides will amass points, a lot more than Watford and Norwich, but maybe not enough to stay up. I think there'll be a lot of people around 34, 37 point mark. I don't think it'll be 40 points to stay up this season. And this one, when I first drafted these predictions about a week ago, I thought this one was a bit out there, but a lot of people have agreed with me here actually. I've gone for Southampton. I just think, especially since Danny Ings has gone and Vestergaard's on his way out, they're a lot weaker than they were last season. They were not confident towards the end of last season whatsoever. You look at their run of form, they did not win many games after January, and they've lost their main source of goals. They have still got strikers. I'll go into their players that I think are strong in a minute, but they've lost their main source of goals. They were leaking goals, and they've lost probably their best defender, I would say. He was quite impressive. Even though West Ham beat them 3-0 on the last day of the season, Vestergaard was still good. He still gave a good account of himself. I don't really think they're going to be able to defend quite well. I think Bednarek's really their main defender, and I've got Salisu. I like Kyle Walker-Peters. He's a good defender. And people will wonder where they'll score goals from. They have a lot of attackers. They have a lot of decent names in attack. They've got, of course, Armstrong as their marquee signing. Not Premier League proven, but decent at Championship level. I think he'll score maybe 5-8 goals. Shay Adams, always useful, gets into good positions. But you saw with Scotland, his finishing isn't always there. He's not the most reliable. And if you're not creating much, then you do need to take your chances. Ward-Prowse is obviously their main man, but he could still leave. Apart from that, you look at their midfield options, you've got like Romeu, players like that aren't really going to terrify opponents. And then they've got a few decent wide players as well. I can't remember his name, it's really annoying. They've got like a young Cam, really, really good player. His name escapes me right now, but a lot of you know who I'm talking about. He's pretty good. And then they've got like players like Janae Pro that I do like as well, but I just don't think they're strong enough for the Premier League. I think they're like top level Championship players. So unfortunately, I do think Southampton just don't have the players right now. If they spend well before the end of the window, then maybe they'll stay up. But I feel like they've already replaced Ings with Armstrong, and they've already, I don't know, they need to replace Vestergaard right away, and they probably need another centre-back, another midfielder. They can't really get any more strikers, but I don't think their striking quality is good enough, so unfortunately I think they're going to go down in 18th place. Next up, we've got ones where a lot of people have tipped them to go down. Some people have tipped them to do quite highly as well. I never know with this side, to be honest. I've put Newcastle 17th, and I just wasn't sure what to do with them, to be honest. The teams above them as well, I think they're in a similar position. They could maybe go down if their season doesn't go to plan and they lose a few players before the end of the window and don't sign well. But I've put Newcastle 17th. I think they've got too much quality to go down. I know their manager is not good. If they had a better manager, if this was Rafa's Newcastle with the same players, I'd be tipping them for about 12th place. But I've put them 17th because they have got some good players. They just lack confidence. They lack the best tactics. They kind of rely on St Maximin too much, even though they have other good players around him. I like their defence. I do like Dubravka. I like Shea. I think he's a good player. I like Isaac Hayden screening in defence. I like Lascelles as well. And also they have quite some scary attackers. They've got the likes of Callum Wilson. They've got Almiron, of course. They've got Ryan Fraser as well, and the main man St Maximin. So they've got a decent side, and they just never seem to perform well. I think they have got too much quality, and especially with Matty and Sean Longstaff coming through as well. I do think that Newcastle fans, if they had a different owner maybe, and they replace the manager, I think they'd have a lot to look forward to. I don't know why Newcastle seems to keep doing so badly, because I don't actually think they're a weak side, but I'm going to put them 17th. I just think they've got too much quality to go down right now. And right above them, we have got Burnley, who a lot of people have put even 19th or 20th, but Sean Dyche always performs miracles. He knows the league well. He knows what he can get out of his players. He knows the best strategy to get his group of players wins. And I think he will get enough on the board. Chris Wood's doing really well. Of course, their defence is always strong. They're always a really organised side, Burnley. They were quite unlucky last term. They lost a lot of games by 1 goal. Picked up some draws that maybe they could have won as well. So I think for them, it really could be a close one in certain games, but as long as they get enough points, I think they'll stay up. I think they'll be okay, they'll get enough points off Woods, they'll beat the teams around them. They do tend to nick a few points off the top 6 every now and again, and get some wins over the likes of Leeds, Wolves, Everton, those kind of sides that are up there, challenging for European places, challenging the top 6. So I think they'll get enough to stay up. Sean Dyche knows the league so well, and even before, so many times people have doubted Burnley and they've stayed up, so I think they'll do it again. Above them, we've got the last newly promoted team, the ones I think will do the best, although they finished the lowest out of the promotion candidates. I'm going to have Brentford in 15th. I think they seem a lot more together than the other two teams that came up. They seem to have a lot more belief. They seem to have a lot more quality. Of course, Ivan Toney even going as far as saying, "Oh, I want to win the league." That is a good mindset to have. Although Brentford probably won't win the league as long as they aim high, and maybe they fall slightly short, but they'll stay up at least. I think they have got a decent side. They've got Bueno, great player. Tony's a great player. I like Fosu in attack as well. The likes of Josh Da Silva are really good. They've got an upcoming side, and I think if they stay up, they could become a Premier League mainstay for the next maybe 10 years or whatever, because they've got players coming through. They have a good recruitment policy. It's just all about staying up this season, and I think they'll have a good platform to build on. And I do think Ivan Toney will score goals. I don't think he'll set the league completely alight and finish with like 25-20 goals, but I think he'll get about 12. He'll be quite useful for them, and he'll get the goals to keep them up. They seem to have a few decent defenders as well, like Pontus Jansson. Decent players. I think maybe they could do a few more signings, maybe one more, maybe a goalkeeper or another midfielder to make them a bit more solid, but I think they've got enough to stay up, and I think a lot of people will be scared of them when they do have to go away to Brentford. I think that they are kind of like Leeds did last season. They might nick a lot of points off big teams and maybe come unstuck against the likes of Burnley, Crystal Palace, those kind of teams. So I do think they'll definitely have enough to stay up, and I really do hope they stay up. I think for a lot of people, they will be supporting Brentford as like a second team this season. So good luck to Brentford. I do hope they stay up. Moving on to 14th place, and this is a side who have actually signed quite well, I think. I just don't think their team is going to gel well enough for this season. I'm going to be going for Crystal Palace. I like the side they're putting together. I think Patrick Vieira is an interesting choice of manager. He's a bit of an unknown quantity. It's going to be interesting to see how he does, but I think they'll stay up. I think maybe this could be a kind of reshaping season, rebuilding season for them, because of course they had Hodgson for a while. They had Allardyce before that. It's been a bit rocky for them. They've always played a bit boring but got enough points. I think we're going to see a new Crystal Palace this year. I think we're going to be seeing them attacking a lot more, spending a lot more time on the ball, being more positive, and I think it will render more points for them. I don't think they'll do particularly well, but I think maybe they could do a good cup run at the same time. I like where they're going, and I think this is a team that's going to build over the next few years. They've got the likes of Mitchell in defence, who is only going to grow. Eze is absolutely terrifying. Benteke is firing a lot better now. I do think they could do with another striker. I don't think Benteke or Mateta are particularly good, but I think their creative players like Zaha, like Ebrechi Eze are really, really good quality players, and they are going to give them quite a few points. And above that, we have got the XG champions. We have got Brighton. I do think they're definitely going to have enough to stay up. I think they were just unlucky last year. They're going to have a lot of confidence knowing that they've created chances, stuff like that. They've lost Ben White, but I mean, that's 50 million to spend, and I think they can get a lot more than Ben White for 50 million. They can maybe get 2 or 3 good players for them, and it's a good deal for them. I feel like it's a good deal for Arsenal as well, or maybe a bit overpriced. It is a good deal for them getting a good defender in, but for Brighton it works really well. They can get 2 or 3 strong players in by the end of the transfer window. I think a lot of my prediction for them depends on them signing well for the rest of the window, because they've still got a good defence. They've still got Burn, Dunk, Webster. Sanchez has been a good goalkeeper. Tariq Lamptey, great player, really exciting to watch. They've got Bissouma in the midfield. I'm surprised he hasn't moved, actually. Welbeck has been firing well. Leandro Trossard, a good player. I just think a good striker for them. Like, Neil Maupay doesn't deliver as well. Danny Welbeck just has been decent, but maybe not good enough. Just a strong £25 million striker for them. Could really see them going up the table. So that's what I'd like to see for Brighton. I think they'll have enough to stay up. I think they're a pretty good team to watch. And of course, you know they're going to get 6 points against West Ham. They always do. So I think 12th is like the end of this section of teams that will avoid relegation but won't be challenging for Europe. Aren't going to be that interesting to watch. I'm going to go with Wolves. And of course, Wolves have had some mixed fortunes in the Premier League. Finished in a European place and then the season after did quite badly. But a lot of that, you've got to say, was down to Jimenez's injury. They've got him back this season. They've got the likes of Ruben Neves. They've got some good defenders in Saiss, Willy Bolly. Rui Patricio has gone, of course. I did really rate him. They've replaced him with Jose Sarr, but I think I think they'll kind of bounce back this season. If Nuno was still their manager, I'd be tipping them to finish about 8th or 9th. But I think with a new manager, it might take some time for them to get back to where they were. Got a Adama Traore, of course, is always dangerous off the bench. But I just think for them, it'll be similar to Crystal Palace, a season of changing to adapt to this new manager. And maybe I think the season after could be one where they're challenging to finish maybe in a Europa League place or win a cup or something like that. So I think this is another rebuilding season for Wolves, and next season they'll be back quite a bit stronger. So going into the sides that did well last season, really, we've got West Ham's, Everton's, Leeds here. I've gone with West Ham in 11th position, my side, West Ham in 11th, and there's quite a few reasons for that. I do think this season could go either way. It could go really badly or it could go really well, and that is because of the Europa League. It's been a long time since West Ham had a guaranteed group stage in the Europa League. We've played some qualifiers, of course, in recent years and haven't made it, but I think we haven't got the squad depth. We have not got enough players to really satisfy both our Europa League and Premier League games, and if Antonio gets injured, we're finished. He's not even a proper striker, and yet he's the only striker at the club, and it's 13th of August when I'm recording this. So if Antonio gets injured, we have no striker at all, and you can't have that at a Premier League side, especially one that's in Europa League. That's going to put a lot of pressure on Antonio to do well as well. We're going to end up with maybe Bowen up front or something like that, which isn't ideal. I'm a lot more confident in our defence than I used to be. I think we do need another centre-back because Ogbonna, who is class, is still injured slightly. And apart from that, we've only got Dawson and Diop. I like Jamal Baptiste, but I don't think he's going to be used this season. I think Moyes is going to see him as too young. I'd love to see... Milinkovic would have been a great signing, but that seems to be off now, unfortunately. And Kurt Zouma I would have liked as well, but that seems to be off. I'm happy with our fullbacks. I like Fredericks. I love Kufau. And Crespo, of course, wants to give us a good account of himself. Rice and Souček, brilliant. Mark Noble's last season might kind of drive people on as well. Maybe give us a little bit of extra like we had last season at the Bowling to push on. I think this is going to be Benrahma's season. I think Benrahma is going to be the one that sets the league alight for West Ham this season. He's going to be our main man. And unfortunately, I think he can move at the end of the season. But I think Benrahma is going to be our main man this year. But I don't think we've got the depth to pursue Europa and Premier League. I think we're going to have to pick one. And unfortunately, I think we've put too much into Europa League and maybe finish mid-table in the Premier League. If we do well in the Europa League, maybe get to a quarter-final or something, I'm happy for us to finish 12th in the Premier League, 11th in the Premier League, whatever. As long as we have a decent kind of mid-table season and do well in the Cups, I'd be happy with this amount of squad depth. I think Moyes will get what he can out of them, but I don't think we've got the resources to finish in the Europa League again. Moving on, we've got Everton. New manager, of course. Rafa is quite exciting. Of course, a lot of Everton fans didn't want him. That could maybe play a part with their morale and stuff like that if it's a bit hostile at the stadium. Ancelotti, great manager, but I think Rafa is just as good. A lot of people won't agree with me there. But you saw what he did at Newcastle. He can do it at clubs that aren't Real Madrid, Chelsea, whatever. And Ancelotti, I don't think, proved himself as well at that kind of level. So I do think Rafa is a good manager for them. It's just his comments on Everton in the past that kind of let him down a little bit there. But of course they've got some great players. Calvert-Lewin in brilliant form for about last season and a half. James Rodriguez, not really sure what he's going to do, but I do like the likes of Allen, the likes of Bernard. Of course they've got some decent centre-backs, players like Mason Holgate in there. Pickford, not the biggest fan of him for Everton, but I like him for England. I think maybe that them and West Ham are around the same kind of area. Everton always do well enough. You'll never see Everton finish like 15th, 16th. Of course, apart from the Allardyce era, but that's Sam Allardyce for you, just enough points to stay up and nothing else. I think they'll definitely be fine, Everton. I think it's just going to be quite an average season for them. Another side I think are going to do similar to last year, kind of build on last year a little bit, will be Leeds United. Did love watching them last year. I'm really surprised that West Ham beat them twice, to be honest. I think they gave a good account of themselves in both games and were just unlucky. We had one of our best games against Leeds when we played them at Ellen Road, and they were just really unlucky at the London Stadium. So I like what I've seen when I've seen them play. Of course, they've given a lot of the big clubs a run for their money as well, and I think they'll do that again this season. Bamford, he's got to keep his form up. I'm not sure if he will. I've got a feeling that Bamford might fall off a bit this season, but maybe Rodrigo could replace him. He started playing well at the end of last season. Rafinha's a great player. I think they're really solid along the back line, apart from maybe their centre-backs. I love their full-backs. Players like Aylin, I think, is quite good. Alioski plays there sometimes. I like him. Phillips is great in the middle. We've seen him for England now. That'll give him a lot of confidence to maybe push on. I like their squad. I like the way Bielsa does stuff. I think they're going to have another solid finish in about 9th place. Moving on, we of course have still got the big 6 to go, the Super League 6, and one of them is finishing 8th, and that is going to be Arsenal for me. They've signed Ben White, yes, but they still don't have a good back line. Leno is decent, of course. I don't mind Tierney, but apart from that, not too good. Ben White's a great defender. He's shown that he can be really good, especially for England, and when he was at Leeds he was great as well, but I don't think he warrants 50 million. I think he needs a strong player beside him. I think he needs a kind of like Harry Maguire centre-back beside him, and then he works as a more agile one. Like when he was with Dunk in a back three, it worked quite well, but he's used to playing in a back three, and it's not going to be like that at Arsenal, I don't think. Arteta has ever played a back three, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's going to be a little bit different for him here. And they will still continue to leak goals. Saka, I think, is one of their main threats, and Smith Rowe. I think Aubameyang hasn't been that good recently. He hasn't scared defenders like he used to, and same with Lacazette. He's just a bit on and off. Pepe's growing. I think Pepe is slowly getting towards where Arsenal fans thought he would be, but I think it's not going to be the best season for them. I reckon they'll finish 8th and maybe win a cup. That's what I'm going to go with for Arsenal. In 7th, we've got probably the most busy side in this transfer window. We're going to have Aston Villa. I think they've been pretty good this transfer window. Although they've lost Grealish, I think they've more than made up for it. I think they're going to be more of a team this year rather than focusing on one man, and I think that could benefit them. I do think they did rely on Grealish too much, and players like Ollie Watkins didn't get to shine as much as they could, but they've got some good defenders. Mings and Konza I really like. Martinez, great goalie. Both fullbacks, I like Cash, I like Target, they're good players. Buendia coming in is a great signing. So is Leon Bailey. That is a really, really good signing. Danny Ings and Watkins up front, they look scary, to be honest. I think if they had maybe a midfielder of the kind of Basuma type of character, that'd finish their squad off and really set them going. I just think they need a kind of great box-to-box midfielder to finish off their squad, and that is the only thing they're missing. But I think they're really scary sides at the moment, Aston Villa. I do not fancy playing them this season. I think they're going to scare a lot of opponents. It just depends if the squad gels well. I think they will. I think all the squad fit together quite well. Maybe like a 4-4-2 could be good for them or something like that. But I think they've definitely got the resources to do well, and maybe Jack Grealish going could be a blessing in disguise because it is going to make them that much better all round rather than just focusing on one man. I think it's going to be a good season for Aston Villa. I can't see it going otherwise. In 6th, we have got Top Spur. Spurs themselves, yeah, not really sure what to do with this one. I considered putting them lower. I think a bit biased as West Ham, I don't want to see them do well, but I considered putting them lower. What I did, and it's down to the Harry Kane thing, but I think even if he goes, he's going to leave a gap, but I think Son will step up quite a bit. They won't do as well as if they had Harry Kane, but I think Son will step up if Harry Kane goes. If Harry Kane stays, it'll be a bit awkward for a while, but I think Tottenham fans will forgive him just because it's Harry Kane. I think they'll kind of let him get away with it a bit, give him a bit of a free ride for it, but yeah, I don't know with Tottenham. They've signed some decent players. I think Lloris will still be their number one. They've signed Romero at centre-back. That is a decent signing, I think. But they've still got some issues. They're still going to have someone to partner him, which is Dyer or Sanchez or someone like that. I think they've got the likes of Lucas that can perform well. Lo Celso I like. They've got the players to kind of finish in a top 6, but not enough to push on for Champions League. They've still not got a strong enough squad for that. So I think for them it will be a 6th place finish, maybe a little bit lower. I think I could have been a little bit generous to Spurs here, but I'm going to put them in 6th place. I don't think they're good enough for Champions League right now. I think they're about 3 or 4 players off. So we have got 5 left, and I believe it is the top 5 from last season, if I'm not mistaken. And just missing out on the UCL for the 3rd season in a row, I've got Leicester City in 5th place. Although they've strengthened, I think the top 4 have strengthened more than them. I still think Leicester are better than Spurs. I think they could be changed a little bit more by Villa than Spurs, depending on how the season goes. Spurs in 6th is mainly due to Harry Kane staying, but we'll have to wait and see with that one, of course. I think Leicester Daka is a good signing, but is he going to play that much? Vardy, Iheanacho, Daka, they've got a lot of striking options there. Fofana being injured is a big one as well. That can maybe make them go a bit lower, but I don't know. I don't know with Leicester. I think they're going to have enough. They had so many injuries last year. They lost Barnes, Pereira, them players for big parts of the season, still finished 5th. Although, of course, they did win Champions League, that's still a great achievement for them. And I think Rodgers does well with limited resources, and his squad kind of does really well under pressure. When they lose those kind of players, they do perform, unless it's the last game of the season and they need to get in the UCL. So I think it'll be 5th place again for them, but not because they're going to bottle it at the last time. I think they'll spend basically the whole season in 5th and won't be able to stay up with the top 4. I think there'll be a little bit of a gap between them and the top 4. So I think it'll be a good season for Leicester, and they can challenge for the Cups again, maybe go quite far in the Europa League, but I don't think they'll be able to get UCL on this occasion. Maybe winning the Europa League could be their ticket in. So on to the top 4, and this is where it gets really tricky. A lot of people are going to disagree here. I think most people are going to have the same top 4, but I am going to have a bit of a different one, I think. I've got Man United in 4th, and a lot of people are tipping them to finish 2nd or 3rd. I don't think many people have got them to win the title, but people have got them doing well. You just don't know, do you? You never know with Man United what's going to happen. I think Sancho's going to be really creative for them. He's going to be a good signing. Varane, good for the money, but I don't think he's as class as people think he is. It'll be interesting to see how he does not next to Ramos. I watched that infamous Man City game, where he was absolutely awful for Real Madrid. I don't know how he's going to react to the Premier League. It'll be interesting to see. But I don't think he's going to do well this season. He might take some time to adapt. Their striking options are decent, of course. They have got Cavani, who I think should play as many games as possible. And Rashford's, of course, amazing. Decent in the middle, but not as good as the 3 above them. I don't think they're on the same level. I think they've got enough to get clear of Leicester, but not enough to challenge the top 3. I think they'll just be kind of sitting on their own in 4th, and maybe going for a cup as well could be pretty decent for them. I don't think they have enough yet. They've got the foundation. There's still a few players short, and Ollie is, of course, still their manager. So 3rd, I think they won't be title challengers yet, but they'll be a bit better. Liverpool. Van Dijk's, of course, going to be back. They've given him a partner now. He's got Canate alongside him, which should be great to watch. Their back 4 is up there with the best in the league. These 3, I think these 3 teams, Chelsea, Man City and Liverpool, we've got left, are the best 3 teams defensively in the league. I think all of their defenders are strong. They create as well. The 2 fullbacks, Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, are basically the best at that, and they are pretty good to watch. Midfield, this could be Thiago's season to step up. Of course, they've lost Wijnaldum, so they will need him a bit more. Maybe Naby Keita as well. They could maybe do with another midfield signing, come to think of it. Fabinho, pretty useful. Henderson, always useful. And then, of course, they've got their strike partnership. They've got their Salah, Firmino, Mane and Jota as well. I think Jota could play another big part this season. He was great last season. I think he'll have another similar season this year. Don't think Origi will stay. I think he'll move on. But I think they're just better than Man United across the pitch, really. I think they're a bit more experienced. They've got a bit more about them, especially at the back. They've got a bit more class, and they'll kind of be confident by Van Dijk coming back and the fact they finished last season strong. So I think they'll do pretty well. That leaves us with 2 teams. Manchester City, the current champions, and the big spenders, Chelsea. And, of course, it's European champions against English champions. I reckon Chelsea are going to edge it out. Most people have got City finishing top. A few have gone for Chelsea. I think Chelsea are going to be able to do it. They've been amazing since Thomas Tuchel came in. He knows how to beat Pep Guardiola as well. If it's tight, if they're beating every team, every game, they pace each other, I think Chelsea will have the edge. I just think, overall, the defences are pretty similar. When you look at Azpilicueta, Rudiger, Christensen and Chilwell, or maybe Reece James instead of Azpilicueta, maybe they play back 5 as well. I think they are as good as Diaz, Stones, Walker and Cancelo. I think they are as good. Midfield as well, Jorginho's in the form of his life. Kante, what a player, and of course Mason Mount as well. And then we've got the likes of Havertz, Werner, Pulisic, and of course the big man Romelu Lukaku, and I think that's all that was missing for Chelsea. All they needed was a massive goal scorer. I don't think he'll struggle this time, Lukaku. I don't think he'll be like when he was at Man United. He'll be happier at Chelsea. He'll feel more at home. He'll have more servicing from the likes of Jorginho and Mount, and it'll be a good season for him. I think he is going to have a really good year, Lukaku. And he's going to be able to finish as much. And I think Man City are going to lose their momentum a bit. They'll be rattled by that Champions League final. That will be their focus this year. They will want the Champions League more than anything. It's probably made them hungrier to win it than ever before losing that final. Of course, they've got PSG to contend with now. Bayern are always good. There's a few teams around them that they need to compete with in the Champions League. But I think that'll be their aim, and it might just put them off the league a little bit. I think Grealish isn't actually a great signing for them, to be honest. They don't need him. They just don't need him at all. They've already got Sterling, Mahrez. They've got Edozie coming through, who was brilliant in the pre-season and Charity Shield. Those kind of players. They didn't need to sign Grealish. They needed to sign a striker. And I think that could be the difference. Last season it was Chelsea that didn't have the striker that could finish. City are playing Gabriel Jesus there, or they're using someone like Bernardo Silva at striker. I don't think it's really good enough for a side that have got that much money, and I think that could be the downfall of them. They've got a brilliant midfield. With the likes, of course, Kevin De Bruyne, Gundogan always playing well. Rodri's decent, although he does just kick people up in the air and get away with it. Their defence is really solid, but I think it's just that striker position that's going to let them down. So, of course, we've got some cups to talk about as well, and we've got some rewards. I think top goal scorer is going to be Mohamed Salah this year. I think he's going to come back and take it. I think he's going to be a bit more confident, maybe have a bit more service, considering the back line's a bit stronger. Liverpool may play a bit further up the pitch. I think he'll bounce back and grab that award. Top assister. Normally, it's hard to look past De Bruyne, really, isn't it? It's hard to look past De Bruyne. Of course, Kane was up for it last year. I don't think he'll get it again. I reckon it is going to go to Kevin De Bruyne. I know it's quite a basic pick, but I just can't see anyone going past it. Like, City will smash goals past people in most games, but I think what will be their downfall in the league is playing there for big teams and maybe struggling to finish in those games. But once they get 1 or 2 goals, they're away, you know. I think Kevin De Bruyne will get a lot of those assists. Clean sheets, Golden Glove is probably the hardest one of the lot for me. It's really hard to see where this is going to go. I think there's 3 teams with a big defence. I reckon it might actually be Alisson that grabs the Golden Glove. I'm not sure. Golden Glove? Yeah, Golden Glove, mate. Golden Glove for Alisson, I reckon. I think Liverpool will maybe concede the least, but not win the title, which is rare. The side that concedes the least normally wins the title. Was sort of Man City. We've seen it with Chelsea in the past. I think the only side really that didn't concede basically no goals and win the title used to be Arsenal. Sometimes Man United, but I do think Alisson might get Golden Glove. I just think Liverpool might edge it out in defence. They'll have a lot of 1-0 wins. But I think with Liverpool, it could be a case of a few 0-0s too many. And I think while we look at Man City and Chelsea having good defences, they could win a lot of games 2 or 3-1 rather than winning them 1-0 like Liverpool would. So I'm going to go with Alisson for the Golden Glove. Last one, we have got our player of the season. And I think because Chelsea are going to win the league, I reckon it's going to go to N'Golo Kante. He's just gone up a level since about halfway through last season. I think he's going to carry it on and just show how good he is again. I do think his versatility running around the pitch goes noticed now. Everyone sees it. Everyone sees how good he is. A lot of people are going to be paying attention for him. And of course, he had a lot of credit for Chelsea's success last time. I think it will be the same this time round. And I reckon Kante will be player of the season. Of course, we can talk about the cups as well. I'm not going to talk about the European ones, but I think the FA Cup and the League Cup, I reckon United will win one of them and Arsenal will win the other. I reckon Arsenal will win the League Cup. And I think Man United will win the FA Cup because Man United and Arsenal have been kind of specialist cup teams in the last few years, getting quite far in those competitions, or when they're not as good in the leagues. They do still have a lot of depth and they take it quite seriously. Well, Man City will field a lot of reserves, so will Chelsea and Liverpool. Chelsea especially like to field youth in the cups, and it isn't a bad thing when you're such a big club, but I think it could cost them. So I think I'll go FA Cup, Man United, League Cup, Arsenal, and Premier League champions, Chelsea. So those are all my predictions, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I have really enjoyed this video. I've wanted to do it for a while. And yeah, I thought I'd just leave it until I know more about the clubs. But of course, signings could change it. If Southampton make a few signings, I don't think they'd go down. If City sign a striker, they could easily win the league. You just never know with the Premier League. Because someone could get, like, if someone gets really injured, say Bissouma gets injured, it could really impact Brighton or something like that. You never know with the Premier League, and that is the beauty of it. That's why prediction videos do so well. So that's going to be all from me in this one. Thank you so much for watching. Leave your own predictions below, and we'll see who does the best by the end of the season, and goodbye.